At dinner, my sister said, "Your daughter can watch my kids every weekend, she needs discipline." My mom nodded. "It'll be good for her." I took a sip of my drink and said, "Great." Then I added one thing that made the whole table freeze. "My name is Darla. And I need you to understand something before I tell you this story. I am not a dramatic person. I don't make scenes. I don't start fights at family dinners. I've spent 38 years being the quiet one, the reasonable one, the one who nods and passes the bread basket and keeps the peace. So when I tell you what I said at that dinner table, what came out of my mouth so calm and so clean it stopped every single fork midair, I need you to know it didn't come from nowhere. Came from years. But let me back up, because if I just jump to that moment, you'll think I overreacted. And honey, I promise you, I did not overreact. My sister Rochelle has always been the family favorite. I don't say that to sound bitter, I say it because it is simply, factually, embarrassingly true. She's 3 years older than me, she married a man named Greg who makes good money doing something in finance that nobody fully understands, and she has 2 kids, Tyler, who is 9, and Bryn, who is 6. Who are, and I say this with love and tremendous honesty, absolutely feral. Have one daughter. Her name is Maya. She's 15, she's brilliant, she reads actual books for fun, she volunteers at the animal shelter on Saturdays. And she is, without question, the best thing I have ever done with my life. Maya's father, my ex-husband Derek, left when Maya was 4. I won't get deep into that tonight, but just know, I have been raising this girl largely on my own, working as a medical billing coordinator, managing a mortgage, managing school schedules, managing life, without a whole lot of help from anyone. And I have done a pretty good job. Ask anyone who actually knows us. Ask Maya's teachers. Ask the woman at the shelter who calls Maya the best young volunteer we've ever had. But ask my family. That's a different conversation. Now my mother, her name is Constance and she goes by Connie, and she is a woman who believes that the oldest child is always right and the younger child should be grateful for the scraps. She has made it her mission for about the last decade to suggest, in various creative ways, that I am somehow raising Maya wrong. Too soft. Too lenient. That child needs structure, Darla. That child needs boundaries. You let her have too many opinions. Too many opinions. About her own life. She's 15. I want to ask you something right now. Does any of this sound familiar? Because I cannot be the only person who sits at family dinners feeling like a guest in their own life story. The dinner. It was a Sunday. My mother hosts Sunday dinners roughly once a month at her house in Crestwood. It's a nice enough house, smells like pot roast and passive aggression. And this particular Sunday in October, it was me, Maya, my mother, my Aunt Patricia who never misses a free meal, Rochelle, Greg, Tyler and Bryn. Bryn had already knocked over a glass of juice by the time we sat down. Nobody said anything. Tyler was watching videos on a tablet at the dinner table. Nobody said anything. Greg was on his phone. Classic. And then Rochelle, who had been building to something all evening. I could tell I know her face. She puts down her fork, looks at me and says, "You know what, Darla? I've been thinking. Maya is old enough to be really helpful. She could come over on weekends and watch Tyler and Bryn. It would give her responsibility. She needs discipline." She said discipline like it was a diagnosis. And before I could even process the words, my mother, my own mother, looks up from her pot roast, nods slowly like a judge handing down a sentence and says, "It'll be good for her." I want you to picture this moment with me. My 15-year-old daughter who volunteers her free time, who maintains a 3.8 GPA, who taught herself to cook because she wanted to help me after long shifts, is being volunteered, without her knowledge, without my consent, without the word please or pay or is that okay, to become a free weekend babysitter for 2 children who just destroyed a juice glass without consequence. I looked at Maya. She was staring at her plate. She had gone very still in that way she does when she's embarrassed and trying not to show it. That look was the thing that settled it for me. Picked up my drink. I took a long, slow sip. And I smiled. "Great," I said. The table relaxed. Rochelle looked satisfied. My mother nodded again. And then I added the one thing that made the whole table freeze. "You want to know what I said? I'll tell you. But first I need you to understand the full picture, because what happened after that sentence is only half the story. The other half is what I did the following week. And what it cost Rochelle something she was absolutely not prepared to lose. Stay with me. Get so much better. Drop a comment. Have you ever been volunteered for something by your own family without being asked? Because I genuinely need to know I'm not alone in this. So I set my drink down, slowly. And I looked at Rochelle and then at my mother and I said, "Great. And since Maya will be providing a professional childcare service, Her rate is $22 an hour. I'll send you my Venmo. Complete. Silence. You could hear the refrigerator humming in the next room. Tyler looked up from his tablet for the first time all evening. Even Bryn stopped fidgeting. Rochelle's mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. She looked like a fish that had just been told the ocean had terms and conditions. My mother put her fork down. And Connie does not put her fork down mid-meal, so you understand the gravity of the moment. Darla. That's all she said. Just my name in that tone. You know the tone. The one that's supposed to make you shrink back into being 9 years old and apologize for existing. I didn't shrink. Now I want to be honest with you. My heart was hammering. Under that table my knee was bouncing like I'd had 6 espressos. 'Cause I don't do this. I told you, I am not a scene maker. But something had shifted in me the second I saw Maya's face go still, and I wasn't going back. I'm completely serious, I said, still smiling. Maya has plans on weekends. She volunteers. She has her own life. But if Rochelle needs childcare, Maya is absolutely available. At $22 an hour, which is actually below the going rate in this county. Rochelle turned to Greg. Greg, to his credit, seemed to be studying the ceiling with great interest. I wasn't talking about paying her, Rochelle said, and her voice had that particular edge to it, the one she's been sharpening since 1989. I was talking about responsibility. Character building. I said. Interesting that character building is free when it's someone else's child doing the labor. Aunt Patricia, God bless her, made a sound into her napkin that was definitely a laugh disguised as a cough. Now here's where I need to pause and be fair to myself, and I'm asking you to be fair to me too, because what happened next is where I maybe slightly went a little extra. Just slightly. My mother looked at me and said, "You're teaching Maya that everything is about money. That's not a value I raised you with." And something in my chest just snapped, quietly, like a thread pulled too tight for too long. I said, "Mom, you raised me to be helpful and available and undemanding, and I have spent 38 years being exactly that for this family. Helped you move twice. I drove Rochelle to every prenatal appointment when Greg was traveling because nobody asked. I just did it. I have never once asked this family for anything. So forgive me if I'd like my daughter to understand that her time and her energy have value, because nobody taught me that, and it took me a very long time to figure it out on my own." The refrigerator kept humming. Maya looked up at me from her plate. And the expression on her face. I can't fully describe it. It wasn't embarrassment anymore. It was something quieter and bigger than that. Dinner ended about 20 minutes later in that specific way that family dinners end when something real has been said. Lots of clearing plates, very little eye contact, my mother offering dessert in a voice that was doing a lot of emotional heavy lifting. On the drive home, Maya was quiet for a few minutes. Then she said, "Mom, did you mean all of that?" "Every word," I said. She nodded slowly. Then, $22 an hour is actually really fair. I laughed. First real laugh I'd had all day. That's my kid. But here's what I didn't tell Maya that night. What I didn't tell anyone is that I had already decided the dinner table moment was only the beginning. Because Rochelle didn't just casually suggest that over pot roast. She had been telling people in our extended family that Maya was, quote, a little spoiled and directionless. I found this out from my cousin Tamara, who called me 3 days before that dinner, uncomfortable but loyal enough to give me a heads up. Tamara said Rochelle had said it at a birthday party for our Uncle Russell, said it in front of people, including some of Maya's own relatives, while Maya wasn't there to defend herself. My 15-year-old daughter, spoiled and directionless, at a party, to relatives. Do you think I let that go? I want you to really think about that before I tell you what I did next, because some of you are going to say I went too far, and some of you are going to send me flowers. Honestly, both reactions are valid. What I can tell you is that what came next involved Rochelle's own social media, a group family chat, and a moment of accountability that she absolutely did not see coming. Tight. Gets good. Let me tell you something about Rochelle that is important context. My sister has a mommy blog. No. It's called Thriving with Grace. Take a moment. And she posts about intentional parenting, screen-free mornings, and raising emotionally intelligent children. 4,000 followers. Pictures of Tyler and Bryn doing crafts and eating snacks arranged in cute little divided trays. Taylor, who watches YouTube at the dinner table. Bryn, who knocked over a juice glass and received zero reaction from either parent. I'm not judging her parenting, kids are chaos, I get it. What I'm pointing out is the gap between thriving with grace and the woman who suggested my daughter needed discipline while her own son had a tablet 6 inches from his mashed potatoes. And she was out here calling Maya directionless. So here's what I did. And I'll be honest, I'm not proud of every part of it. But I'm not entirely ashamed either. I called my cousin Tamara. She's practical, funny, and has zero patience for family nonsense. I told her what happened at dinner. She said, "What do you need?" I said, "Just be in the group chat when I post something." She said, "Already there. Do your thing." The family group chat is called Family Love with a heart emoji, which at this point feels deeply ironic. I posted Maya's school newsletter, the one where she was named Student Spotlight for her shelter volunteering, with a quote from the director, Beverly, saying Maya was one of the most dependable young volunteers she'd worked with in 20 years. No caption, no comment, just posted it and let it sit. And Patricia sent 3 heart emojis. Tamara wrote, "So proud of this girl." Uncle Russell sent a thumbs up. Rochelle said nothing. My mother wrote, "That's wonderful. She works hard." 4 words. But from Connie, 4 words of genuine acknowledgement is basically a standing ovation. Took it. That was the warm-up. The main event was the direct message I sent Rochelle 2 days later. I wrote it 3 times. Deleted it twice. The final version was calm, specific, and true, which is sometimes the most devastating combination possible. "Rochelle, I heard what you said about Maya at Russell's party. I'm asking you directly. What has she ever done to you? She's 15. She's my kid. She doesn't deserve to be talked about that way by her own family. I'm not looking for a fight. I'm looking for an answer." I put my phone face down and made tea and stood in my kitchen pretending to be calmer than I was. Do you think she responded? She did. But not how I expected. I braced for defensiveness. Deflection. The classic, "You're too sensitive." Instead, silence. 2 full days of it. Then on Wednesday evening my phone rang. An actual call. From Rochelle. My thumb hovered over decline for a solid 4 seconds. Picked up anyway. She said, "Can we talk?" Her voice was different. Flattened. Like something had gone out of it. "We're talking right now," I said. "I think I owe you an apology." I sat down slowly. Because in 38 years, I had never once heard Rochelle say those 5 words in that order. But I'm stopping here, because what she said next matters. And so does something Maya did completely on her own during all of this. Something I didn't ask for and didn't even know about until after. When Maya told me, I had to sit with it a while before I knew how I felt. Some of you will think she was wrong. Some will think she's my hero. Honestly, maybe both. More very soon. So Rochelle apologized. Here's the thing about a Rochelle apology. And I say this as someone who has known her for 38 years. It comes wrapped in so much context and explanation that by the time you unwrap it, you're not entirely sure what you're holding. She said, "I shouldn't have said what I said about Maya at Russell's party. That wasn't fair." Then immediately, "But Darla, you have to understand I worry about you. You're doing everything alone and I just think sometimes you're too easy on her." There it is. The but. The great destroyer of apologies everywhere. I let her finish. Then I said, "Rochelle, the apology ends at 'that wasn't fair.' Everything after, but, is you explaining why you were right. Those are 2 different conversations." Silence. Then quietly, "Yeah, babe. That's fair." Which, coming from Rochelle, was actually enormous. I want you to know that. But here's what I really needed to tell you. What Maya did on her own. While I was sending carefully worded messages and posting newsletters in group chats, my 15-year-old daughter had done something I never expected. She had called my mother. Directly. On the phone. Maya told me about it casually, almost like it wasn't a big deal, about a week after the dinner. She said, "I called Grandma Connie. I just wanted to talk to her." I stopped what I was doing. "About what?" "About me, kind of." I told her about the shelter. About Beverly. I told her I'm not directionless, Grandma. I know what I want to do. I want to study veterinary medicine. I stared at her. "You told Grandma that?" "She asked questions," Maya said, shrugging. "Like actual questions. For a while. I called my mother that evening." Connie picked up, and before I could say anything she said, "That girl of yours called me." "I heard. I said carefully. She wants to be a veterinarian. She does. Then my mother said something that genuinely caught me off guard. I didn't know that. Nobody tells me anything real about her. I only hear what Rochelle says. And there it was. The thing underneath everything. My mother hadn't formed her opinion of Maya independently. She'd been receiving Rochelle's version of Maya for years, and she'd never had reason to question it because Maya and I kept our lives quietly to ourselves. We had been so busy protecting our peace that we'd accidentally left a vacuum. And Rochelle had filled it. Does that make you as angry as it made me? Or do you think I should have seen it sooner? I won't pretend the call with my mother fixed everything. Didn't. Connie is not a woman who does dramatic transformations. But something shifted. Something small and real. She said, "Bring her by next week. Just the two of them, her and me. I want to hear more about this veterinary idea." I said I would. And I did. Maya came home from that visit quieter than usual, but in a good way. The way you get quiet when something unexpected turns out to be meaningful. She told me Grandma Connie had shown her old photo albums. Had talked about her own mother, Maya's great-grandmother, who apparently once worked on a farm in Tennessee and had a way with animals. "I didn't know any of that, Mom," Maya said. "Neither did I, baby," I said. And that was the truth. Now Rochelle. Because the apology was a start, but it wasn't the whole thing. And I had made a quiet decision that I wasn't going to let this return to normal without some actual change. Not punishment. Not revenge for its own sake. Just accountability. Real ones. So I did one more thing. And this one I planned carefully. I invited Rochelle to coffee. Just us. No Greg, no kids. No mother sitting at the head of the table distributing silent judgments with a pot roast. Just two sisters in a booth at a diner on a Tuesday morning. Do you think she came? She did. And what happened in that diner is something I've thought about almost every day since. Because it didn't go the way I planned. It went somewhere better. And somewhere harder. And it started with Rochelle saying something about her own life that I genuinely did not see coming. Stay with me. We're almost at the part where everything changes. Rochelle was already at the diner when I arrived. That surprised me. Rochelle is constitutionally late to everything. Greg's own mother once scheduled her birthday dinner 40 minutes early just to guarantee Rochelle would show up on time. So seeing her already in the booth, hands wrapped around a coffee mug, told me she had something to say and had been building up to it. I sat down. We did the small talk for about 90 seconds. Ordered, commented on the coffee, noted the weather. And then Rochelle put her mug down and said, "I'm not happy, Darla." Just like that. No preamble. I looked at her. And for the first time in maybe years, I actually looked at her. Not as my annoying older sister, not as the family favorite, not as the woman who runs Thriving with Grace while her kids destroy dining rooms. Just as a person sitting across from me who looked genuinely exhausted. "Tell me," I said. And she did. The blog, she said, had started as something fun and turned into a performance she couldn't stop. Greg worked constantly, and when he was home he was mentally somewhere else entirely. She felt invisible inside her own marriage and overexposed to strangers on the internet simultaneously. Tyler's school had flagged some behavioral concerns she hadn't told anyone about. Bryn was struggling with anxiety, at 6 years old, and Rochelle was handling all of it alone while maintaining the appearance of a woman who was thriving with grace. "I look at you," she said, "and you seem so solid, like nothing rattles you. And I think I resent you for it sometimes. Which is terrible. I know it's terrible." I let that land. Then I said, "Rochelle." I cried in a Target parking lot in February for 20 minutes because I couldn't afford a car repair and didn't want Maya to know. "I am not solid. I am just private." She stared at me. "I didn't know," she said. "Because I didn't tell you. Same as you didn't tell me about Tyler. Or Bryn. Here's the thing I've been sitting with since that diner. And I'm putting it out there because I think some of you will understand this immediately. We were both lonely. In completely different ways, for completely different reasons, we had both ended up isolated inside our own versions of the family. And instead of reaching toward each other, we'd spent years maintaining positions. She was the successful older sister. I was the resilient single mom. We'd both been performing so long we'd forgotten we didn't have to. Did I expect to feel sorry for her? Absolutely not. Did I anyway? Little. Don't tell her. I told her about the night Maya was born. How Derek was already pulling away by then and I knew it. And I lay in that hospital bed at 2 in the morning holding this tiny person and thinking, I am going to have to be everything for her. And I don't know if I can. Rochelle listened. Really listened. No advice, no interjections, no pivoting to herself. Just listened. When I finished, she said, You never told me any of that. You never asked, I said. Not accusingly. Just honestly. She nodded slowly. I'm asking now. We sat in that diner for 2.5 hours. The coffee got refilled 4 times. At some point we both ordered pie we didn't really need and ate it anyway because that's what you do when a conversation gets real. By the end of it, something had shifted between us. Not fixed. I want to be clear about that, because I'm not going to tell you one diner conversation undid 38 years of family dynamics. Didn't. But something cracked open. Something that had been sealed shut for a long time. Before we left, Rochelle said, I want to apologize to Maya. Directly. Would that be okay? Thought about it. Genuinely thought about it right there in the booth. Let me ask her, I said. It's her call. Rochelle nodded. That's fair. Maya said yes. They talked on the phone for about 30 minutes while I pretended to watch television in the other room and actually heard every word through the wall because our apartment has the acoustics of a paper bag. Rochelle apologized. She told Maya she'd said things that were unfair and untrue. She asked about the shelter. She asked about veterinary school. At one point she said, Your mom is really proud of you. She should say it more, but so should the rest of us. I had to mute the television because I was not going to cry over a home renovation show. That was not going to be my life. My mother started calling Maya directly after that. Not every week, but regularly enough that Maya began to expect it. Connie is still Connie. She still has opinions about everything and delivers them with the subtlety of a foghorn, but something in her is trying. Can see it. And me. I stopped being so private. Not with everyone. I'm still not somebody who overshares at family dinners. But with Rochelle, I've started letting her in a little. Sending her a text when something is hard. Answering honestly when she asks how I am. It's strange and a little uncomfortable and sometimes I still want to scream at her. But it's real. And real, I've decided, is worth more than smooth. Maya got a commendation from her school last month. I posted it in the family group chat. Rochelle reacted first. 3 stars and that's my niece. Connie wrote, Proud of you, Maya. The animals are lucky to have you. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I put my phone down and went to tell Maya in person. Because some things deserve to be said out loud, not through a screen. We're still figuring it out. But we're figuring it out together. And honestly, that's more than I expected. Thank you for staying with me through this whole story. I know it got messy in places. Real things usually do. If any part of this hit close to home, I'd love to know in the comments. And if you think I handled something wrong, tell me that too. I can take it. If this story meant something to you, a like goes a long way. It lets me know you're out there and that sharing this was worth it. Genuinely means a lot. Take care of yourselves.